Hi everybody, it's Jill with Green Thumb Stampers here for my Finally Friday video. I'm a little bit late today. It's been a great week, and as you all know, I hurt myself, so I have a bum ankle. It's healing good. It's not much pain, but it's an ugly color and it's a little bit tender, but that's not why I'm late. I needed to order something for the video sequence of stuff that I had planned out for you guys, and it didn't arrive. The package didn't come today. I hope it was going to come in the mail, but it didn't. So I'm improvising and going with another route. So yesterday's post on my Facebook, I asked if you preferred the heat embossing or if you liked the embossing paste. I got a couple responses, and I was going to focus on one, but I'm switching it up and I'm going to focus on the heat embossing today. So those of you that don't know, heat embossing is you use a powder. These powders over here, we have a few colors, but it's just powder, and you use a Versamark stamp pad down here. And it's just like a clear, spongy ink. And then you can use the clear embossing powder and put that on any color of paper, and the embossed image will show up as like that color of paper. Back in the day when I first started, we used to have craft ink pads that you could use clear powder, and we had ink in every color in the craft, and it would emboss in that color with the clear powder. But today we just have white, clear, gold, and silver powder, and let me see, I totally lost my train of thought. Sorry guys. What you do is you stamp your image in the Versamark, sprinkle the powder on it, and then you heat it with the heat tool, and it makes an image that is raised up, kind of an elegant image. If you're doing a real pretty wedding card or something, it would really, with a script font, it makes it look really elegant. I'm just going to show you a few different tips of things that that you can do with it. So I got some black cardstock, and I'm using this Tasteful Touches stamp set. Is it in there? Tasteful Touches. And I'm just picking up the flower, and I'm going to show you just how using the white powder on the cardstock, and I'm just using this big flower, and I'm going to randomly stamp it. Oh, because we don't sell it anymore, I wasn't showing you, but we do have a tool that I highly recommend if you go to any of the big box stores that you pick up, and I will show you. I'll use it. It's called the Embossing Buddy. They discontinued it in this catalog, and I'm not sure why, but it's just like a little bag with powdery stuff in it, and you rub it on your cardstock where you're going to emboss, and then that picks up any oils that are on your hands and keeps them from going sticking down on the cardstock. So it keeps the let me see, I had a sample I was goofing with. You see over here, it keeps these little flinklets from embossing onto the paper. They wouldn't be able to stick there. So I'm going to now use the little flowered edge that's in there, and this takes a second to dry. I'm hoping that I've got time here, and I'm just going to put an edge along this card as well. I'm not overlapping it very well, so we're just going to call it good like that. I just want to give you an idea. And then I like to use a plastic tray for my powders, and then I can take the container and sprinkle over my paper, tap it off, or I can scoop it up from in the dish and then just like run it down. But as you can see, we're going to have a little bit of an issue because I didn't emboss Buddy the paper ahead of time. And so now we've got the powder on the paper and it's going to stick there. So then what you do is you just want to heat it. Make sure I've got that in the... Heat it up, and while you're looking at it, I don't know, let me stand on my stool and see if I can watch, get it close enough to show you. If you could see it heat. They'll change from the powdery look to like a solid glossy look. Can you see the difference in the edge in the flower? And then you can kind of watch it change, heat up before your eyes too. It's very, very hot, so be careful. You'll see the clothespin that I have on the bottom there. It's a finger saving tool, I call it. You can clip your paper and then heat so that you don't get your fingers heated, because my gun anyway is not a Stampin' Up gun and it gets hot. So I'm not sure if the Stampin' Up one doesn't get quite as hot, but that's what a really bad image looks like with the gunk all over the side. I don't know if I got another piece of paper. I could try another real quick sample. Let's just get this piece of green that's sitting over here. So let's rub it with the embossing buddy all over, because if your fingers are the least bit greasy when you touch the paper, you now have left a grease spot on it that this powder is going to collect on. And Versamark is also good for just what you see here. If you're on colored paper, it will leave a really nice image in the color of the paper. If you don't have that color ink, the Versamark will make your image in what would appear to be the color of ink of the paper. So let's powder that up. Now you could see I do have a little bit still on there, but not anywhere near the amount that I had before. This looks like it's pulling off a little bit better than the black did. So let's heat it up. Perfect. So that's kind of a in a nutshell, the idea of what you can do with the white powder. I got some silver. Let me flip it over. We'll show you what the silver will do. Oh, I didn't bring a tray for the silver, so if you're without a bucket, you can just sort of kind of do that. I'm just going to do this one off the cuff here with just a smidge of the silver to show you how pretty it would look if you looking for a little bit more striking. See how pretty that silver is on there? So that's just heat embossing on the colored paper. Now I want to show you heat embossing on the white paper, Whisper White scrap paper I have here, so don't mind all the... I'm done with the white. I'm going to heat emboss this with clear. Oh wait, do I want to... No, I'm going to do it in white. I'm going to do it in white again. Oops, I want the card and not the... I got black paper flecks all in it, but that's okay. They pop right off. I'm going to heat it up again. And this one will heat from a wet look to a, you'll see it go shiny. And it raises up. So you can't see, but I got the little flower on here. And this idea, I want to put color down on my paper, and the color will stick, will not stick, excuse me, to the image that I just embossed, and the color will just go on the paper. So I'm dipping my little sponge in, and I'm just going to show you. See how that color comes out? I just rub around on the image that I embossed. And if you're not going to cut it out, just be careful with your lines. But my idea here would be to cut this out for a card that I have up in my head. You can go as heavy as you want in areas, and then lighten it out as you go to drag it to the outside. So there's an idea as well, and then you can just cut that out. I won't make you sit through the whole thing cutting it out, but you could see as I cut it out, my overspill where I went outside of the flower, you can just kind of cut that off. And then we're getting the flower cut out, and then I can use that on a card. Let me show you another technique that you can do with the heat embossing. And you know, there's going to be a million more techniques than what I'm going to show you here. I'm just running through a few quick ideas to give you a little bit of knowledge of, hey, I saw that Versamark and those powders and that heat tool. What do I use it for? So, whoops, I just did that wrong. I'm talking and not paying attention. Let me clean that off real quick. I do not want this image. So, I don't want to stamp this. I'm using the leafy image now from the Tasteful Touches. And I don't want to stamp this on a solid green paper. I want to see the sprigs and the leaves and the stems and all that. So what you can do is go ahead and then stamp your image down in your color, any color you want in here. And you're going to say, Jill, but that's not going to be pretty and shiny and stand up and be embossed and look really cool. And I'm going to say, oh, you just watch. So now what you want to do is take your, I got to make sure I'm in the, take your Versamark, and then you're just going to smash it down on your paper. Make sure you get it all over the image. And yes, it's a little bit of overkill for your use of your Versamark, but it's doing the job. Now I have the clear paper, and or the clear powder, sorry. I'm doing my thing here, getting it all over my image. And then I'm going to heat it. Let's see if I get it close enough for you to watch it melt, I guess is what it's doing, changing from the powder to the so there we go. So now again, if you have a die, cut it out with the die. I don't have a die handy for this one, so I would fussy cut this. Go ahead, cut all around it, and then you've got the embossed, the shimmer of the embossing powder on there, or the embossed look on there. And then here's how I put them together in a card. So I use the flower and then my leaf. Let me pull it up a little bit so if you could see the shimmer on the leaf. There it goes. And so that was a card that I just put together with those two different techniques. All right, I've got one more technique I want to show you, or I guess it's not really a technique because it's all heat embossing that we're doing, but I wanted to show you one more thing that you can do with it. Did this off camera just because I decided I needed to cut some different paper. This is the heavyweight cardstock, and I used the ornate style stamps, and I picked the I did the big one here, and I stamped it down with the Versamark on my cardstock with clear powder, and so it makes it a little bit hard to see on there. But a really cool thing that you can do is to take your Aqua Painters and you can like watercolor them. So I'm going to do a little bit here and there to show you. You got your ink in the lid. I'm going to pick up the ink. Let me see, I got to get back up on my stool and see if I can paint this in the camera. I'm going to paint the veins of the leaf with the Aqua Painter and then just fill it in. The cool part with doing this method here is the water with the Aqua Painter is not going to bleed outside of the image line that you've embossed. So as long as I stay in the line with the ink, you can push it around within the image. I hope that's showing up in there. No, it's not. You can push it around within the image, and you don't go into the, like I'm not going into the petals. I need a better light. I've been farting around with this for a couple hours now, and I came back to redo a segment and my lighting's not as good as it was anymore, but I just wanted you to see this better. How you just push the ink around in the image area and it's not going to bleed. So you can see my petals are right here and I'm not bleeding into the petals because the embossed image is keeping it contained. If I can do a little bit more. Like I said, my overhead lighting is not the greatest right now. So I'm going to put that down and I'll just show you another. I'll open another color and I'll just go on to, we'll go on to the flower that was next to this. So I can push it around the whole image. In some areas where I want it dark in the middle, so I'm putting it heavier there, but I'm pushing it out to the other petals and they're getting lighter as I go. And again, you want some good light to see what you're doing. And then you would want to take, when you're set, you want to take a Kleenex and just kind of rub, give it a second to dry because you'll rub too much off, but if you rub on it, it will take whatever residue is on the embossed part and take it off and kind of shine that back up and then leave your ink of whatever sort you put down on the image. So here's one that I did after I started the other segment of it. I stopped and painted this one and did some other stuff and thought I'd come back and add this in. So it's just another cool thing that the heat embossing will do for you with the watercolor. It's just, you can, again, like I showed in the first one, you could also be rubbing around with your sponge and then come back with your tissue or your paper towel and buff it all up. It'll pick up all the color that is on your embossed part. So it's pretty neat. So that was it for this week. That's the end of my Finally Friday segment. And have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I'll see you next week. Talk to you soon. Thanks for watching, guys.